But I want to welcome one of my favorite event industry people in the entire world. Wouldn't be here without her. Michelle Bruno, come on up to the stage. Everyone welcome Michelle, who will introduce all of our amazing panelists. There you go.
Thank you so much, Will. Welcome, everybody, today. I'm Michelle Bruno. I'm with Dahlia Plus Agency, and we have organized the Tech2Grow Collaborative Pavilion, where we've gathered together 12 amazing companies providing cutting edge, that's probably an older term, leading edge, bleeding edge technology for the event industry. So what we're going to do today, because we have a rather large group, thank you, Dahlia, for getting everyone into this pavilion, and we have a sort of a small stage. So we're going to bring in, we have a presentation today with half our pavilion and another presentation tomorrow with the other half. And we're going to talk today about growth. So I'd like to welcome our first group of panelists up to the stage. Take a seat. Ladies kind of in the middle, and you'll be sharing microphones. So come on up. I'll have you introduce yourselves. Okay, you passed the first test. You made it to the stage. So, oh, it's so perfect. Yeah, just don't fall off the edge. So thank you, and hello to our group at home and people that'll be watching this later. I'd like to start at this end, and if you'd please just sort of introduce yourself and give me a couple of sentences on what your platform, your application, your piece of technology does.
Hi there. I'm Don Russell. I am a success manager with Zuant. Zuant is a company that does lead capture. We work with the vendors to do lead capture, and then we also have the 3D product that we're debuting at this show, where basically attendees can view your booth at the event and click on all the information.
Great.
And I'm Ed Bruno. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Events Pass. We do digital ticketing, credentialing, registration, and lead gen for major consumer shows. And one of the things we focus on is identifying the anonymous attendee in these big 100,000 plus events through a lot of different data capture methodologies, ultimately resulting in a data lake that we create to give better insights to the show producer through things like lead gen, ROI analysis, but really focused on making the invisible attendee known is a big part of this for us.
Great.
Good morning. My name is Manolita Moore, and I'm with Simulosity. We specialize in creating immersive experiences for any industry. We actually do 3D virtual booths as well, virtual expo, and we are introducing at the show our Booths to Go, where you can port your business and your brand anywhere, anytime, using just a QR code. And we do a lot more, but so visit us when you have time. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Rachel Stefan, and I'm with Snowball. We work with organizers to help them put more butts in seats at their events by enabling all their different stakeholders, from attendees, speakers, exhibitors, sponsors, to spread the word and amplify the event, and in turn refer other people to come join them at the event. So we can add up, in some cases, up to 30% more attendees to the event because of referrals and word of mouth.
Hello, I'm Tracy. My company's called Untraceable. I'm actually on two sides here. One, I run Canada's largest blockchain and cryptocurrency conference with about 10,000 attendees. And I also help conferences launch their own cryptocurrency at their event to really enable payments. It's really more of a kind of a new innovative solution to gamification and payments.
Hi, my name's Andy Pickup. I'm with Trist Events, which is a holding company for MeetMax, which is a software platform for registration, but specializing in one-on-one meeting programs. SummitCast, which is a webcasting division, and Planet AV, which is our on-site hardware and services division for signage, for badging, for attendee tracking, RFID, things like that.
Hi, my name is Vincent Bruno. Different family. We're not from the same family. I'm the founder and CEO from SparkUp. SparkUp is a virtual audience platform. We can gather like up to 100,000 participants for hybrid events, huge mosaic. We are exhibiting right there at the show.
Okay, stay there, because I'm going to ask you the next question. So, we want to talk about growth and growth metrics. So this feels like either the Miss Universe pageant or the dating game or something. Anyway, if you need to be hooked up with someone, I can work on that later. What's the growth problem that your technology solves?
So for us, we gather people, it's just to bring people on the event when they cannot join the event. So we have a technology where you can activate your camera and we can teleport the attendees on the event, and we can gather, we create a huge mosaic of people and they can interact on the live mosaic. So the biggest issue we are fixing right now for large conference when you have 10, 20, 30,000 people, very large conference from different countries, and people don't want to feel just they are looking at a TV show. They want to feel part of the event. They want to engage, and our technology it could be embedded in any kind of other platforms, and where we can recreate this sense of belonging and feelings of being part of the event.
Okay, Andy.
So my answer is going to be more about money than people. We focus on helping our clients just make more money out of their event by focusing on what's of most value to them. And what's usually of most value to them is to keep the exhibitors, the vendors happy. And so we focus on helping them schedule really, really well done one-on-one meetings programs, and that's our platform, that really maximize the value of the meetings to the vendors. And we focus on keeping a really broad pathway of engagement touch points, so that at the end of the event, the exhibitors can see who was interested in me before the event, who visited my booth, who came to my presentation, who requested me, who watched the webcast of my session, and who met with me. They have a really broad journey of the various engagements of buyers.
I bet you have something really interesting to say about blockchain and
blockchain. Yeah, I guess growth would be growth in payments, encouraging more payments to be on site, especially for more a festival style type of conference, more food truck sales, more vendor sales, more marketplace sales. The NFT aspects includes more continuity through events as people collect badges, and overall just growth and engagement, just kind of dangling a carrot in front of somebody. They get them to do something a little bit more at your event. We can now issue tokens to do that for them.
But Tracy, I want to back up.
Sure.
For the unschooled,
yeah,
let's talk about NFTs and tokens and what they are.
Sure.
And why would an event organizer even want one?
Yeah, I think
for their attendees.
It's a long answer, so we won't take too much time on it. Definitely come meet me after. But in the sense that cryptocurrency, in a lot of ways, think of it as programmable money. So imagine if the money that was going throughout your event, now you can program it. You can create different price points depending on the time of day and where they're going to be. You can incentivize different actions to drive people to certain places. So what you're really doing here is you're creating a programmable money for your event, and the NFT side of it is more of a badge side. So that's a short answer for a long-winded, long night talks about cryptocurrency.
Rachel, the growth problem.
The growth problem, well, when the client come to us, typically is because they're not hitting the registration numbers that they're hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
And critically, it's almost closer to the events that they're, 6 to 8 weeks is we found that range of time that they come to us and say, okay, something is there, we tried all kinds, we did all kinds of marketing, we're not there yet, how can you help us? And for us, it's the lowest hanging fruit, really, because if you already have people signed up for the event, you have already stakeholders like speakers and exhibitors who it's in their interest also to help you promote themselves and the event. So we mobilize these to get them some activity, some buzz outside in their communities to attract new people to the event, and people who may be on the fence, but then when they start seeing that so-and-so is going, then it generates that, give them a little bit of a push to sign up for the event. Mm-hmm. The other the other challenge, the opportunity that I find is also post-event. Post-event, I was just speaking to someone earlier where she's telling me that they have all this content that they have that sits on the platform. They give it for 90 days after, but then they lose it. They don't even keep it. But that's something. Even if it's expiry date because it has time sensitive information, you can still use it for a period of time to at least help you get more people to your list and your community and audience, so you can promote to them upcoming events and other things that they could do. So what we're trying to help them is also amplify the content via the people that were at that past event, get people to sign up. So it's audience acquisition plus attendee acquisition for organizers.
Okay. What are you trying to attack with Simulosity, Manolita?
So Simulosity, we cover a wide variety of applications, but particularly what we're focusing on is the experience of attendees or an event. It's immersive, so we provide immersive experiences. So that what's kind of different, where it's not common yet, so we're trying to change or break the status quo of how things are done or experienced in an event. So the adaptation is always a challenge for us, but we believe it's the future of how we engage attendees and bringing access to shows when it's over, like what Rachel was saying. That's one of our goals, is to have not just the event itself where you experience the event, but throughout the 365 branding of a company. So that's what we do. We virtualize, we immerse an experience during, after, and before an event. So
Great. So Ed, I understand what the general problem is with consumer events and extracting attendee information, because it's not normal for someone to buy a ticket and immediately pony up their email unless they're doing it online and you capture that information. But in terms of growth, what is the problem to be solved from a ticketing and, Expo Pass perspective?
Well, I got to say that's a brilliant tee-up of a question, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. Bruno's, take care of Bruno's.
Yeah, right? We should start our own agency, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We do a lot of consumer shows, so big boat shows, auto shows, RV shows, and it's different than in trade, in B2B. Everybody here, we're all registered, right? They've captured our name, our phone number, our email address, etc. And you might find it interesting to know that about 15% of the Consumer Expo audience is known. 15%. So you have an event with 100,000 people on campus, and you've only got 15% of them. So we use a lot of tools to move that number to the realm of 75 to 85%. And really, the growth of that for the show producer is they now have marketing muscle to market to those attendees for next year's event or next month's event, to market to them on site. It's all about commerce and creating these like groups, this passionate community of people that love boating. Well, how do we engage them in what we have to sell and offer, going forward and while they're on site? So moving the metric from 15 to 75%, that is our metric, and that's real actionable growth.
Mm-hmm. So Don, who doesn't want more leads at a trade show? Is that what you, the hill you're going to die on?
I hope they're not here. I mean, they're in the wrong place. So growth-wise, and especially from my point of view, simply getting the leads in the hands of your salespeople so they can act on them immediately. That's it. Fast, simple, qualified, ready to go.
And do you have some secret sauce for that?
We've done it a lot. I mean, we work really well with a lot of customers. We build what they want. We can build it really quickly, and they're very happy with it.
So I'm going to leave it with you. In terms of specific metrics, specific growth metrics, what is your platform yielding to users?
Well, we capture all the metrics. And
maybe users is the wrong word.
And I don't know, it may not apply to me quite so much in this role, but we capture all the information. It's available for them. It can be imported and pulled into any CRM, marketing automation application. And that's...
Yeah. So, what is the data that it collects?
Lead capture, all the content.
No, but do you do demographic, name, address?
Well, really, it's whatever the client needs for qualification, whatever you want to qualify your customer as, and your target.
So you can customize it and all that stuff. Well, you're kind of in the same wheelhouse, Ed. with Don?
Yep.
How do you do it differently, or what are you doing?
Well, for us, we really work with the exhibitors directly. What's your ROI? How are you measuring this event? What's a good event for you? You know, is it about selling stuff off the stand? Is it about getting leads to sell Pella windows next month and the month after? And when we start with an ROI calculator, where what did you spend to get here? What did you spend on human capital to get here? What are your fixed and variable costs, jet fuel, your booth, all of that to say, okay, you've got $25,000 invested. What do you expect to get out of this event? What's your cost per customer acquisition? What's your cost per lead? And come up with really a valuation that I need to make $150,000 to make this show worthwhile. I need to make $200,000. I need 80 leads. I need 120 leads. I need 2 leads, 2 good convertible leads. And so we use an ROI calculator. It's actually a tool that we've built to consult them to set expectations. At the same time, we try to give the show producer insight, real time, with a dashboard to see that exhibitor over here in booth 10 is killing it. We need to re-sign them right now for next year to a bigger booth. Or exhibitor over here in booth 15 is struggling, and we need to get somebody over there to talk about how we can help them, what's going on, and where they're struggling.
Great. So, Manolita, describe what a Simulosity-built world or campus or whatever looks like, and what are the specific metrics, particularly with growth, if you can, that you'd be extracting from, say, attendees that are in more of a metaverse type environment?
Thank you. That's a good question. Because we can use it in different applications or different industry. Let me just use, let's say, an entertainment venue, for example, that we create. So an event, let's say a concert, happens normally before, during, and after. So our platform can create the environment for ticketing, can create the environment for the actual concert, and even the post, right? So we would work with the vendors around that event, let's say the merchandise, for example, so we can measure the engagement, we can measure the purchasing, we can measure the entertainment, the participation of the folks during that event. So those are the kind of metrics we use, and that tells us the success of the growth of the event, for example. So the sales, of course, will be measured, and on all of the attendees, their demographic, and how long they use the platform, and how often they engage, and things like that. So those are all measurable. And that's the thing about technology today in a virtual environment, because as compared to the live event like we have, in a virtual environment, you can measure all those activities. Unlike the face-to-face, it's harder to measure that. And but I'm still a proponent of face-to-face. But you add the virtual environment, you can actually measure all of the, not all, but most of the interactions, whether it's purchasing, whether it's interacting with exhibitors or vendors. You can actually do that now. So hopefully we'll get there in most shows.
We will get there.
We'll get there, right.
Because I know you. We will get there. Rachel, with Snowball, what are your clients wanting you to extract for them in terms of growth? You mentioned that they want to know if there's any new attendees, but what else do they really want to know to prove that Snowball's working, that this kind of technology is effective for bringing in attendees and stuff like that? What do they ask you about?
Well, it's straightforward. I mean, they have access to a live dashboard because we sit on registration. And then any campaign that we do, and we treat it as a campaign with every different groups of people that we mobilize, whether the exhibitors, speakers, attendees, or even subcategories of these. And then you can see and track the conversions. So from click to conversions, from getting to click from whatever that person shared to registering, completing registration, we record that as a referral of, let's say, someone that came in because of Michelle, is what you posted. So identifying also your most valuable advocates. So sometimes we think that we're going to hire someone and pay them this much money, but in this case, you're considering everybody as on the same level, and then they would rise. You never, sometimes you'd be surprised who's getting you the most referrals. Sometimes exhibitors do really well, In some cases, clients don't want to even do the group of attendees, and it's like, no, there's volume there. You want to do that, and then you do it, and you look at the analytics, and you can see, I got this much percentage of new referrals because of the attendees, much more than I thought I would get from speakers or exhibitors, for example. And if for example, now we do a lot of paid events, in-person events, and figure a conference or a trade show that they're charging $1,000 a ticket. Even if you get 100 people, that's $100,000 in revenue. So that's very clear ROI. It's 10 times X their investment with us. The other opportunity for them to see is also because we track and see where people are sharing and where they're converting from, because we offer them 12 different social platforms that they can share it to. And then each community, each vertical, each industry, and each geographical location, you see a different distribution there. And sometimes you might think it's social, but it's not social. I have a client that came to us like, well, I don't see much happening or talking online. I don't see anything being shared. Then wait a second. I go on their dashboard and I look at it and say, okay, well, most of your activity, your community is sharing among themselves by email or by Slack or something that is private. You won't know about it, but they're still doing it, and we have the numbers to show you how many people that actually came in because of that. And not only we know the number of new referrals, we know who they are. So we know Michelle referred Rachel referred Dahlia, and then it goes on like this. So you know exactly where they're coming from and the level of referrals that they have.
So if I'm an organizer, the first thing I'm going to ask when I'm not familiar with that kind of technology is, from a percentage perspective, what can I expect in new attendees coming through a platform like this? Like, what's the average? If I'm getting like 2% new attendees, is it crap? Or should I be looking for like 50%?
In some cases, they're very happy with the 2%. Like I said, the ticket price is very high, but the quality of people that you're getting are very high qualified people. That's what we hear is like, we're not spraying and praying like a Google ad that you put it out there and you don't know what kind of people. These are if I'm in the industry, I refer someone that I know or a colleague, they're in the same industry, they're already pre-qualified. You skip the whole steps there. So some of them are very happy with the 1-2%, but in some cases we have up to 30% more people that come in. There's an event right now that's running. The campaign is not even launched. We just put the script on the registration. 1/4 of the attendees that signed up so far are a referral from just that simple widget on the registration. We haven't launched the campaign. The campaign meaning we do reminders, we do different triggers for our different stakeholders leading up to the event to keep asking them to talk about the event.
So Tracy, are you just on a mission to get all organizers on the planet to use tokens and NFTs and accept cryptocurrency and things like that? Because what are you measuring? What do you want them to measure?
Yeah, for sure. I think the interest is, that's really impressive what you do. I'm always like in awe.
The Canadians are bonding. First the Brunos, now the Canadians. French, pretty much, language.
Sorry, the great thing about the blockchain is, and the point of it is that it's all transparent. It's all on the blockchain, which means it's very visible for other people to see, which makes it really beneficial for a lot of organizers in the sense that the analytics can't lie, what happens we're telling the full truth. Just because it's transparent doesn't mean people see your data specifically. They can just see that the transaction happened. Doesn't mean that they know who you are, just to clarify that side of it. But yeah, in terms of growth, it's seen kind of, I would think the biggest benefit is the transactions of people purchasing things on site would be the biggest one.
Well, when you said transparency and the data doesn't lie, I think it might scare a lot of organizers. I'm not going to say who, but in the past, lots of big organizers have claimed large numbers, and they love that. Now, they're not saying if they're all attendees. They're not saying if they're pre-qualified. They're not saying anything. They're just saying, I brought 100,000 humans into my event. They might not like any kind of technology that actually calls, on those numbers.
I would say what we're doing is not have to do with registration. So it's not necessarily the attendees. It's more visibility of how much money was made on site in terms of economic impact. If you're trying to go to a destination kind of, to show that you actually bring that kind of money into the city, into a specific expo. I think that's the more interesting side of it is the payments on site, not necessarily tracking kind of what a lot of other people are doing, not necessarily the data of the attendee or the amount of attendees, but more on this payment side of it.
Oh, so more cash in the bank. Who doesn't want that if you're an organizer?
Digital cash.
Digital cash. Is it a bad thing now? Digital cash, crypto. It's still good.
Yeah, it's the future. I think everyone who attended here came to see what the future has to hold in technology. I know everyone's probably looking at it now saying, oh, that's that thing in the future. It's kind of here, kind of learn it. If I ask anybody in this audience how the internet works, nobody here could tell me how the internet works. Doesn't mean you don't use the internet. So doesn't mean you have to know how it works, blockchain, but get to know how you can use it within your event.
It's exactly how I think about AI. Don't need to know how it works. I just know it's there. Anyway, Andy, your company does a lot of different things. When I think of Twist, I think mostly of the one-to-one meetings, but you can pick any sort of flavor of the things that you do and talk about growth metrics that your customers might be looking for.
I mean, we generally, our number one talking point is to encourage our clients to think of a well-created one-on-one meeting program. Like for me here, by far, our most valuable experience as a vendor, as an exhibitor, is participating in those one-on-one meetings where we get 20 minutes with, a dozen people or more. That is where a really deep conversation occurs and where we can really find out more about them and share stuff about us. That's the most valuable, by far, component of this event for us. So that's ultimately the end of the road for us. But on the pathway to doing that, there is, the registration process. There's viewing people's profiles. There's visiting their booth. If they're using RFID tracking, there's just what you do walking around, which sessions you visit. So we're simultaneously trying to create a pathway of engagement, but the meeting is the end point. And again, just to get back to money, for us, because that's what exhibitors will pay most for. That's the way that you can best capitalize or exploit your event, bringing the community together, is by having your exhibitors value their time here as much as possible so that, your pricing levels can reflect the value they get out of it. That's our pathway to growth for clients.
So I'm curious about, is there a correlation between the number of one-to-one meetings at an event and, say, NPS scores or attendee satisfaction or profit or any other metric that an event organizer would find highly coveted?
Profit, yes, and certainly exhibitor satisfaction. Easy for me to speak to the exhibitor than to the buyer or the attendee. Yes and yes on those two scores. Exhibitor satisfaction, absolutely. Predicated on it being a well-organized program, that it leaves people with good meetings that have been moderated, thought about, that are successful meetings, as opposed to a sort of a random ad hoc process that could be frustrating in the delivery of it and not very satisfying in the execution of it. So a well-moderated program, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's the most valuable thing for exhibitors. It's what gets them to sign up for next year.
So Victor, whenever I've asked a robust platform provider like you, what are the metrics that you measure? What kind of metrics would lead to growth? What's interesting? I always get the same answer. We measure everything. We measure every customer touch point. We measure every data point, and we dump it all into a database, and then the customer can just, go swimming in it. Yes. So 2 questions. So what are the most important metrics? What do your customers really want? And how do you make them actionable after the event, especially with respect to growth?
Yes. So for us, it's very specific because we talk a lot about return on ROI, but I like to talk about ROE, return on engagement. And that's what we do. We are specialized into engagement because we have a virtual audience mosaic platforms, and people can interact on-site and online. So most of our participants, the main issue right now is like people that cannot join an event. And how do you really engage? How do you really measure their engagement online? That's what we do. Let's know that 65% of our communication is nonverbal. So as soon as you are on a mosaic, you are watching a show. I mean, if you cannot see yourself inside the show, I mean, no one's really cares about you, you know.
Yeah.
So what do we measure? Our clients want to measure the crowd sentiment analysis, all the nonverbal feedback during the event, all the insights on polling, Q&A, all the things. So most of what we provide is like engagement data. We also know that after 5, 6, 7 minutes, when you are watching a show online, your attention span decrease. So it's like you have to reactivate your audience every 5 to 7 minutes, and we measure that as well. And we measure the way people react to the content and the speaker on the live events. So we are really like a live event platform. You know, we are really used for the live event between the people on site and the people online.
And so what do you do to help clients after the event sort of process the engagement metrics that were collected?
So what's happened is like most of the time our clients, they compare their content and the speaker sessions to all the reactions. They create an analytic, they analyze the content via the interactivity and all the nonverbal feedback that have been collected. Let's say right now we could have like maybe 6,000 people on the background right now participating to our sessions. And during this specific question, we could be able to see like we have a lot of people reacting with a lot of emotional reactions. But now we don't really, you know, it's hard to measure what people really think about what's happening right now in terms of like hybrid events, and which is a real issue right now, being able to manage on-site crowd and online crowd, you know. So that's what we do. They compare data with content.
So as long as I've been in this industry, which is a really long time, terms like experience and engagement are very subjective. What I find interesting about your platform is that there's evidence that engagement has occurred because, you know, the audience has reacted and it's measurable. Talk about that.
No, very interesting, because let's say it's not because you are going to all our technology for the people online and overlaid inside the video. You don't have to look to the poll or the Q&A. But because you have a polling, does it mean you are engaged? Definitely no. I mean, polling doesn't mean engagement.
Right. Well, it does to some platforms.
To some platforms.
Like if someone's there and breathing and pushes a button, it's
exactly.
engagement.
I think it's a recipe of a lot of different things where you will feel engaged, because if I see myself on the live events, just like if I see other people's reaction, emotions are contagious. If you clap your hand, I will clap my hand. If you like something, I will like something. So the way people react together, it's not only about polling or just chatting. It's a recipe of a lot of different engagement things that at the end of the day, you know, will create engagement during your event. But
Great.
it's a big subject. I mean, I don't know if
I know, and an event without engagement is not really an event. I mean, that's the purpose of having an event. So,
but it's a recipe. It's definitely a recipe.
So the next thing is you're going to raise your hand when you have an answer. But what I want to hear is a success story where a particular client or, a client or whoever, someone that you've interacted with, it could be a participant, has had success on a growth metric that you focus on and what happened. So who wants to go first? Nobody. Okay, Ed.
I'll jump in there. and I love, having somebody else on the panel talking about lead gen, because it's such a,
I was going to have you arm wrestle later, if that's okay.
He looks pretty big. He looks like he works out too. We did an event with a client of ours, and I'm going to name him too. It was Showspan out of Detroit, Michigan, and it was an international golf event. And what we tried deploying was lead gen on every single exhibitor booth. And we worked with the show producer to co-create a budget together as marketing partners to fund this on behalf of all the exhibitors. So they came in, they had some instructional content on how to use it, and they were there to scan leads for everybody. So it wasn't like there's a pocket over here using it, there's some over here that are not using it, and so on. And I'll just tell you, the amount of lift and the resounding response from these exhibitors was incredible. So many people were indoctrinated that day. So many people drank the Kool-Aid. I don't think I'm in a position where I can share the exact outcome in terms of numbers and things like that. But I saw so many testimonials from these exhibitors of, my gosh, that separates your golf show from any other golf show we attend. We do 8 golf shows a year. We've never had this many leads from a golf show. This is unbelievable. So just a way of kind of pushing the envelope and trying new things, new modalities to create 100% coverage and get a huge outcome that just blew the show producer away.
Mm-hmm. Victor, you had your little hand up.
Very simple for us. We had an event for Pernod Ricard, which is like the second largest, how do you call that, producer of spirits in the world.
And what was it?
Producer of spirits.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like second largest in the world. Alcohol, yeah. It was like 40,000 people. And they wanted to engage with like 5,000 people on site and 35,000 people online. And they really wanted to have an engagement between the two audience for live events. And we have been created like a massive like virtual audience wall, mosaic wall with it was like 20,000 people online on the wall. And they have been engaging for like 2-hour sessions between the on-site and the online. And it was just pretty impressive, the data we collected from these people that felt they were not just attending a conference and a top-down conference and watching a YouTube video, but they felt part of it, And it was a B2B event, corporate event. So that was a pretty huge success for us to be able to say, okay, hybrid is working. It's working with like 25 countries at the same time, and also 4,000 people on site.
So what I'm picturing is that someone that was there in person said a word, and everyone online took a shot of tequila.
Exactly.
Is that how it works?
Exactly.
Okay, because that's what I would do in a hybrid thing with alcohol. Anyway, who else has a story? Manolita, I know you do.
Sure.
Let's talk about veterinarians.
Sure. That's my background.
Yep.
My last gig was running a trade show of a veterinary conference of 18,000, or the last show was 28,000. So what we did with them as a success story is that one of the projects we did with Simulosity was that we built their virtual booths for all their exhibitors. And so what we did was we combined the physical show with the hybrid models with all of our virtual booths. And we combined the fee into one. And so all exhibitors, if you get a physical booth, you get a virtual booth as well. And so as a show organizer, we generated revenue even during the pandemic. And that really helped us a lot because exhibitors participated willingly and happily because they were able to have a show even during the downtime. And they, maximized that opportunity with us during that time. And so that was a really good experience for them and for us because that was quite a revenue that we generated. They generated, or that Simulosity generated as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and we got the engagement part as well. We measured the engagement, and exhibitors got their leads with the folks that they engaged with prior to the event and during the event and after the event. So that was very successful.
So, Andy, I want to turn to you, even though you didn't raise your hand. As far as I'm familiar with MeetMax,
Yep.
you do a lot of work in the investment sector.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that obviously the one-on-one meetings are crucial to those types of meetings, and probably you can't name names, but I'm wondering if you have a success story from that sector and how the one-to-one meetings really contributed to growth in the deals and other things.
So thank you. Rather than name one client, we really serve a huge market share of the middle market of brokerage firms in this country and overseas, Brazil, Europe. I think our biggest success story is like revolutionizing that whole middle market sector. In the early aughts, 2002, 2003, our clients would have a team of 10 temps freelance temps that would be coming in and trying to schedule meetings and struggling to get to 700, 800, 900 meetings for a particular event, really struggling. What Memex allowed the entire middle market to do, really we serve the entire middle market, is be able to schedule thousands of meetings with about 2 people. So it allowed them to achieve the same sort of efficiency that their larger brethren, the Morgan Stanleys, the Goldman Sachses, were able to achieve, to let them really compete, actually not even on equal basis, on a better basis. And that's where the money is in that world. In that world, meetings are what drives the revenue for those events. And so allowing them to efficiently scale up massively without having to add people is our success story there.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
I've actually used your software. I did an investment conference in Bahamas, and it was 800 people, and it was bringing crypto investors in Wall Street, and it was very successful, and I know a lot of deals were made, and it was in the investment world.
So keep it going. What's your success story, Tracy?
Our success story, I guess, we launched our UNI token for the second time at Futures Conference last year. We had over 1,000 engagements. It went in all of our food trucks, all the carnival activations. We had helicopter rides on site. We had boat and yacht rides that you could use a token. So it was a success in the sense of onboarding traditional kind of vendors onto a cryptocurrency platform in itself. We made it really work, and they accepted Bitcoin and Ethereum and things too. And so there's definitely, in that sense, it was very successful just to onboard the traditional world.
Great. Don, do you have a success story real quick?
You know, you were talking before about people that give you just all the data.
Right.
I mean, if there's anybody that does that, that's what we do. We give you all the data. I could talk. I honestly hear the superlatives, and the every week I hear something like success stories, customers that have captured more leads than they ever have before, and detailed and different sessions and different rooms and different groups and divisions. And I mean, I like Con Expo just the other week. We had a customer, biggest construction software company in the world, used the show lead retrieval the previous year. I'm not very happy with it, and I mean, I'm getting gifts in the mail, from, or Amazon Web Services at Web Summit, 10,000 leads. They've never had that many leads. That's kind of what I deal with all the time.
Great. So we have a question, and since Rachel, you're the only one that hasn't given a success story, well, you kind of did before. I'm going to field.
Gave it while I was.
Yes.
Yes.
Very clever of you.
Yeah, I anticipated. I
say.
saw the future.
So the question from the audience, which I'm throwing to you, when introducing a feature that might not be intuitive right away to the event organizer or to the attendee, which you fall into that category back in the day, how do you go about introducing this new feature or product to make sure there is value being derived? Think back to the days of Snowball when you were kind of rolling it out and explaining what it was. And
well, I mean, in our case, initially, we offered it as a service because, like, some background. I mean, I come from an agency side, so I run an event marketing agency for the past over 20 years, and then Snowball was the idea brainchild of doing that. So we came in helping them to do it because we wanted to help them because we know how they get very busy and adopting the technology is very hard. So there's the part of the organizer adopting it, we're lifting that off and we're doing it for them. And that's appreciated. On the user side, that's very critical because you want it to be as easy as possible. So for example, like for now, we launched this one here for ETL, the feature of on our widget when you go to share it, there's now an opportunity for the user to update their own photo or take a photo directly from that widget to make it even more personalized. So that's more likely for them to share it and because it has something of them there. So that has to be very intuitive because it can't break while they're doing it. So
and they get it. They get it when they see the photo and
yes,
they understand what it's supposed to do and how it can help.
If it's too complicated to adopt, then there's something wrong there. If you ask me, from a UI, UX, user experience type of thing, then you have to kind of look and see how you can streamline it. Introducing it, showing best cases or use cases. The best way to launch it is to put it in practice, create a case study with it, or create some sort of a pilot and then show others how to do it. And then you communicate it with other clients and say, here's what we so and so did. Do a little webinar or something and invite that other client to show them how they did it, how they maximized it, and then see how they can roll it out for other shows.
Okay, now on that note, we're going to close it out. Will, come on up. I want to thank Zuant, Expo Pass, Simulosity, Snowball, Uni, Spark Up, and Twist. That was the easiest one. Thank you.